We'll begin like taking a comfortable seat. Beginning to tune in to the body, to the breath. Tapping into that mind-body connection. Noticing where you're making connection with the ground. And rooting down into that place. And then even as you feel that grounding and that rooting through the base, see if you can find a little lift up through the crown of the head. With the inhale, send the breath down into the ground. Imagining as the belly rises, that breath descending down through the midline, all the way down through the pelvic floor and down into the ground. And with the inhale, let the inhale buoy you up a little bit, lifting you a little bit taller through the spine and through the crown of the head. Feeling the flat part of your head lift and rise just a little bit as the breath comes up and out of your body. Then take the right ear over to the right shoulder. And we'll start to just make little tiny little movements with the neck, rocking a little forward and backward into this side. Pausing in any place that really needs a little extra. We'll take it really slowly here. To allow you to really feel into the neck. Whether you're feeling a little bit more on the right or the left. Observing that. Then bring the head back to center. And take the head over to the left. Left ear over towards the left shoulder. I'll make these little tiny, like very slow movements down and up. It's really tempting to speed this up and fly into it, but we're going to try to really take it slow. You may even close your eyes here to really tune in to what you're feeling on the neck. Or just a hazy gaze. And we'll bring the head back to center. And dip the chin and look down while we still lift up the sternum. So lifting up through the chest as we tuck in the chin. Almost pressing it back so where we get like a double chin feeling. And then look up, all the way up to the sky. And lift up here again through the chest, through the sternum, opening up through the front of the shoulders, drawing the shoulder blades together as we look up, just to a place that's comfortable. If it feels uncomfortable in the neck or crunchy, just take it back down a little. And then we'll bring the head back to center. Inhale, the right arm comes up. We're reaching up for the sky. We drop the top of the shoulder down and really plug into the shoulder blade. And then take it over towards the left. You can use that left hand to prop you up. And we'll use that left hand pressing down into the ground to also help press the right sitting bone down towards the ground. Maybe feeling a little bit more stretch as you do that into the side body. And if the head is dipped forward a little bit, we'll try to bring the neck back up in line with the spine and draw that right arm back a little bit more. Inhale, lift up to center. We'll bring the left hand up. And reach over towards the right. Pressing in with the right hand to guide that left sit bone down towards the ground. Keeping the ears lined up over the shoulder. And that top of that left shoulder, if it's wanting to lift up and reach with you, see if we can plug that top of that left shoulder down, feeling into the scapula, into the shoulder blade. Feeling that muscle engaging. And then inhale, lift back up and float that hand down. I'll take a moment here, maybe even wiggling and jiggling and observing. Then slowly make your way onto all fours. Moving with intention here. Feeling what moves, like you're moving through water. We'll come to all fours. For our cat-cow, we'll do really slow movements here. So we'll start initiating our cow from the tailbone. So first, we'll tilt the pelvis forward, drawing that navel down towards the knees, and then ripple the movement up the back. So we start to arch through the low back, draw the shoulder blades together, and then lift up slightly through the head. And then going back, we'll start again through the tailbone. So we'll start by tucking the pelvis and then rounding like a wave through the low back, mid back, hitting the upper back, and then drop the head and tuck the chin in last. And we'll even come up onto the toes here, press down into the toes, and see if you can find even more lift through behind the heart and between the shoulder blades. And then relax the toes back down, and we'll start the movement again, starting our wave from the tailbone, tucking, pressing down, tilting the pelvis, and then waving that through the low back, mid back, upper back, draws together with the shoulder blades. And then one more time, really slowly, we'll tuck through the toes first this time, and then tuck through the tailbone. Start to round through the low back as we tuck the pelvis under, and taking our wave to round through low back, mid back, upper back, drawing the chin to the chest, pressing into the toes, pressing into the hands to widen between the shoulder blades. Hugging up through the belly to bring more width to the low back. And then relax and release and come back to flat back position. And from here, we'll slide this right foot up between the hands, coming into our low lunge. We'll get the right knee over the right ankle. And then we'll inhale and bring the hands up to the knee, and then press yourself all the way up. And then glide that right hip back a little bit in space and let the left hip pull forward. Press down into the knee and lift up, feeling the pelvis lifting up off of that thigh bone. See if we can lift everything up away from the thigh, from that right thigh. And then we'll inhale the arms up. And then twist over towards the right. We'll bring the hands down halfway, dropping the shoulders. And inhale, lift up through the arms, reach up. And exhale, come all the way down to frame the right foot. We'll come up on the left toes and lift up through the left knee for just a moment here. Strengthening through that left quad. We feel the kneecap engage and press energy out through the left heel. The left knee. We'll come back onto all fours. And take the left foot up between the hands. Lining up the left knee over the left ankle. Inhale and press both hands into that left knee. Just really slowly reach up through the torso and just come all the way up here. And then settle the shoulders down. Slide that left hip back so you can feel it moving back in space. And then glide the right hip to allow it to fall forward, lining the hips up. So there's one straight line across the hip points. And then pressing down into the hands, see if we can lift the abs, lift the pelvic floor, lift everything up off of that left thigh bone. Like we're pulling up and away from it. And inhale, lift up and reach up through the arms, allowing the shoulders again to plug down into the shoulder blades. And then exhale, twist over to the left, bringing hands down halfway. Inhale, lift back up, reach up to center. And exhale, we'll float the hands down, frame the left foot, tuck through the right toes. We'll lift up the right kneecap. Really engaging through the right quad. Feel the right thigh engaged as you lift that kneecap and press out through the right heel. Then we'll plant both palms this time and take the left toes back also. Come into our plank pose. Hold here for a moment, lifting up through the belly, widening through the shoulder blades. And then we'll slowly just lower just the scapula. So just the shoulder blades. So like we're sinking down just the shoulder blades. We'll do our little scapular push up here. And then press into the hands wide in between the shoulder blades. And then we'll let just the shoulders sink down, the chest sink down, but the shoulders stay there. One more time. And pressing up firmly, pressing the shoulder blades back up, widening through the shoulder blades. Then lift the tailbone up and back to our downward facing dog. Pedaling through the feet here. Maybe even as you bend one leg, hips all the way over and look up under the opposite armpit. You can play around a little bit with that. Shake out the head. And then we'll come to stillness in our down dog and then really lift up through the sitting bones. So feel like the base of your bum here really lifting up towards the sky as the heart space melts towards the knees. And then walk the feet up to meet the hands. We'll come to our forward fold. Drop the head, drop the shoulders. Shake out the head. And then options here to either grasp opposite elbows, sway side to side, bring the hands interlaced to the back of the head, or just sway with the hands down. Play around with a couple of the options. And then we'll rest the hands back down. Inhale, lift up all the way, reach up for the sky. And on our exhale, keep the hands in front as we slowly lower all the way down, very slowly, feeling the abs engaged as we reach forward and eventually come all the way back down, keeping the kneecaps lifted. And then back in our forward fold, we'll lift the abs, lifting them up off of the thigh bones. And then planting the palms, take one toe back and the other toe back. We'll lift the hips up high and back to our downward facing dog. Take a breath here, rotating the inner thighs towards each other. The shoulders rotate away from each other, pointing the elbow creases towards the index fingers. And slide the right foot up between the hands. And we'll plant that left heel down. And coming up, setting up for our warrior one. As you're ready, we'll inhale and reach the arms up. Sliding the right hip back again. Left hip falling forward. And then keeping the arms lifted, we're going to straighten through that right knee. On inhale, we'll bend the right knee, sweep the arms back, tilting forward slightly. So we have one long line from the crown of the head down to the heel. Inhale, straighten and reach the arms up. Inhale, bend the knees, sweep the arms back behind you. Airplane arms, drawing the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift up, straighten. And exhale, sweep the hands back, bending through the knee. Inhale, lift back up, straighten the knee. And this time we'll come to cactus arms as we bend through the right knee. Keeping the elbows about shoulder height. And then pressing the elbows back a little bit more in space. And keeping the head in line with the shoulders. So if we're reaching the head forward, we'll try to draw the ears back over the shoulders. And exhale, we'll come all the way down to frame that right foot. Take the right toes back, come to our plank pose for just a moment, hugging the elbows, and then keeping the arms really engaged. So really press down through the hands as we slowly bend the elbows and lower all the way down to the belly. Inhale, lift up into a cobra. And exhale, come back down. Tuck the toes. Take a breath and exhale. Press up through all fours or straight to plank. And then lift the hips high and back. Our downward facing dog. We'll take a breath here. Take any movements that feel good. And as you're ready, we'll slide the left foot up between the hands and plant that right heel down at our 45-degree angle. And maybe widen the stance here a little if you'd like. Left knee positioned over left ankle. We'll get ourselves ready and then inhale and sweep up into our warrior one on this side. We'll take a few breaths here to slide that left hip back. Right hip pulls forward. And we'll begin to flow. bending into the knee, reaching the arms back. Come into our airplane arms. Inhale, sweep up, straighten the knee, reach up for the sky. Exhale, bend into the knee, sweep the arms back behind you, drawing the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift up and reach up. Exhale, bending into the knee, keeping the abs engaged and lifted up off that thigh bone. And reaching back through the fingertips actively, but with resistance. So they're not just flying back up in space. We're really staying at a place where the arms are really engaged. And inhale, lift up, straighten again. And as we exhale and bend through the knees, we'll bring the arms out wide to cactus arms. Dropping the top of the shoulders, really feeling the scapulas plug into place there, and pull the shoulders back a little bit. Inhaling, lifting up taller through the crown of the head. And exhale, very slowly, we'll begin to come down to frame the left foot. Take the left toes back. We'll pause in plank. Staying lifted through the abs, lifted through that space behind the heart. Feeling it rise up to the sky. And we'll keep that feeling. So we won't let the shoulders sink. We'll keep them wide through the shoulder blades as we slowly lower all the way down to the belly. Inhale, lift up for cobra. Exhale, come back down. Take a breath as you tuck the toes under. Exhale, press up through all fours to plank, and then hips up high and back to our downward facing dog. And take a breath in our down dog. Lifting up through the belly, giving you a little bit more space through the low back. And bend through the knees, look to the hands, and then we'll step or walk the feet up to meet the hands. Back to our forward fold. And we'll hang here for a moment, but not passively hanging. So we're actively engaging through the abs, engage through the thighs. So feel the thigh bones lift up from the kneecaps. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. So we reach all the way up. And then exhale, press the air away, claw through the fingertips, moving very slowly through the heavy air. I bring the hands down into our mountain pose. And then take a breath, grounding down into the ground, feeling roots grow down into the ground. So we're very active in this place as well. Shooting energy down through the fingertips. Shoulder blades nestling together. And lifting up through the front body. Feeling the kneecaps lift, the abs lift. Lots of energy here. And then with the feet, we'll rotate the inner thighs towards each other. And then actively attempt to press them away without moving the feet. So we're really starting to get into a little shake with the legs, a little quiver. Building up charge, building up energy. And then exhale and let it go. We'll shake out through the legs, shake out through the arms. Discharge anything that needs to discharge. Charging and discharging. And then we'll come back to center. After you get the little shaking out. Inhale, reach up through the hands. We'll pull the hands together, interlace the fingertips, and press the index fingers together into a little steeple grip, and then reach them up high, and then tilt over towards the right. Dropping the shoulders down away from the ears, and then pulling the elbows a little bit farther back. without moving the head forward. Inhale, lift up to center, and exhale, tilting over towards the left. Maybe rotating that right rib cage up towards the sky a little bit higher, so we're not collapsed forward, but really lifting from that rib cage. And inhale, reach up back to center. Unhook the fingers, but keep them up. And then we'll exhale, bend through the knees, sink the hips back, coming into our chair pose. Keeping the belly lifted, long through the back. So sending the tailbone down. Reach the hands up towards the ears. And then keeping the knees bent, we'll exhale to fold over the knees. Keeping the belly lifted up away from the thigh bones. We'll take a breath here. And then actively press down through the feet as we keep the knees bent, and inhale, reach back up into chair pose. And then maybe lower the seat just another inch or two. Pulling those shoulder blades together and down the back body. Down and back. And then pressing down actively into the heels. We inhale and lift all the way back up to standing. And exhale, allow the hands to slowly claw through the air as you send them back down into mountain pose. And maybe shake out through the legs if that feels good. And then inhale, lift up and reach up, look up towards the sky, sending the hip points forward. And then exhale, slowly fold forward, very slowly. So maybe it's a couple of breaths. We'll keep the abs lifted up off of the hips as we slowly lower into our forward fold. And then when we get there, then we can drop the shoulders and drop the head. Plant the palms, take one foot back, then the other foot back. And we'll lift straight up into down dog. And then shift into plank, shoulders lining up over wrists. And then hips back up and down, back to downward facing dog. Lift up through the right foot, coming into our three-legged dog. Grounding down through the left foot, keeping those right toes dialed down. So spiraling the inner thighs towards each other. And then we'll slide the right foot back down and all the way through between the hands. Right knee over right ankle. And then we'll pivot on the back foot. As we inhale, we'll lift up and also cartwheel the left hand up and over all the way around, coming into our warrior two. As we shift this left hip open towards the left. And then line up the right knee with the second toe. We'll take a look down at our right knee, sending it over our second toe, and then plugging the shoulders down in space. We'll take a breath in our warrior two, hugging up through the abs, and shooting the low back down. And straighten through the right knee, and we'll tip over like our teapot and take the right hand down towards the right shin or lower, depending on where you're at, and then lift up through the left hand. And if you notice that their left shoulder is pitched forward, we'll take it up a little bit higher on the knee, or on the leg rather, so that the left shoulder can line up with the right shoulder in space over the right shoulder. So sometimes we tend to tip a little forward here and this left shoulder caves in. So we really want to open up through the left shoulder, even if we need to lift up a little higher on that right leg. And then look down towards the right toes, reaching up still with the left hand. And then look up towards the left hand Look down towards the right toes, and then we'll bring both hands back down around to frame the right foot. Pivot on the back foot, take the right foot back. Come to our plank pose, sending the heels back, tucking up through the abs, and we'll slowly lower down to the belly. Inhale, lift up into. Exhale, down like a wave, tuck the toes under. Exhale, press up through all fours or to plank, and then send the hips up and back again, downward facing dog. Then ground down through the right foot and send the left foot up. Toes dialed down so that pinky toe is parallel to the earth. Pause here for a moment, keeping both hands weighted evenly. And then we'll send that left leg down and scoop it through between the legs. We'll set up for our warrior two on this side. So we'll plant the right foot down in space, left knee over left ankle, and inhale, we'll sweep hands up, and the right arm goes up and over as we open up towards the right side. Drawing the right hip back, left hip slides forward, and then we'll look down at our left knee and work that left knee so that it's pointing out over the second toe, and allow the shoulders to drop. Lifting up through the abs, allowing the tailbone to draw down. And then straightening through the left knee as we pour our tea kettle out on this side, and then reach up through the right hand. I'm reaching up through the right fingertips, sending energy up into the sky. And finding that place where the right shoulder will line up in space over the left shoulder. So if we're up here a little bit higher, that's cool too. Getting a little bit of space and finding that shoulder alignment like we're pressed between two planes of glass. And then we'll look down to the left toes and look up towards the right hand, pressing into the pinky toe edge of that back foot. Really engage through both legs. Feeling the thighs engage, lifting your knees, lifting away from the kneecaps rather, lifting the abs away from the hips. We'll look down towards the left toes. And then cartwheel both hands around to frame that left foot. Pivot on the back foot. And from here, we'll step the right foot up to meet the left foot, coming into our forward fold. We'll pause and notice. And inhale, lift up and sweep up through the arms. And as we exhale, we'll take the feet out wide and bring the arms down to cactus arms. Shoulders lined up so that the elbows are shooting out from the shoulders. And we'll bring the heels in a little bit. And then on your exhale, we'll sink the hips down, coming into our goddess pose. Drawing the abs up and sending the tailbone down, shifting the pelvis forward a little bit in space. Yeah, good. And then maybe squat down just a little bit lower if comfortable. If you don't feel any twinge here in the knees or in the hips, just observing. And then inhale, we'll shoot back up, reach up for the sky. And then exhale, press the air away. And without looking down, we'll see feelingly, as we feel the toes begin to come in, we'll heel toe the feet together. Without looking down, knowing and trusting where your feet are in space, till we bring the feet all the way together, really together. And we'll set up here for our tree pose. grounding into the left foot, feeling those roots growing down into the ground, feeling very active through the abs and through the hands. We'll start to peel the right toes up, either to a kickstand or to a place above or below the knees, so we're not pressing into the kneecap. But we'll take that foot wherever it is and press into that left leg and push back into the foot with the left leg. So really both coming into the midline. So everything pressing into center. You can bring the hands to heart center or reach them up. Play around with your tree pose today, but imagine that core line through your center and everything is hugging into the middle, into the midline. And then exhale, we'll let everything go and shake it out. And maybe even shaking out through the shoulders, through the head and the neck. Allowing for whatever needs to move to get a little movement. And then we'll come back to stillness in our mountain pose. And we'll take a moment here to feel the steadiness of this pose and feel the mountainness, the strength. So really adding a little strength to this. We're not just standing here passively, but the shoulder blades are nestling together. The arms are reaching down. The crown of the head is reaching tall. So that if somebody came by and tried to push you over, you would not move. You are the mountain. You are strong. Kneecaps are lifted. And the feet are pressing away from each other while the inner thighs rotate towards each other. So maybe you start to really feel that right here on the outside of the thighs or the inside of the thighs, wherever you feel it. And then we'll take that strength and begin to peel up through the left foot, keeping the right foot grounded. And we'll find our tree on the other side, pressing the left foot actively into the right leg and the right leg pressing back into the left foot. Hugging everything into the midline. You can even take a moment bringing the hands to the heart and pressing them together and activating that center channel, really feeling everything hugging into center. And then once you find that place, if you want to lift the hands up and grow your branches or keep them pressed into center. Finding your tree pose on this side. Take another breath here. And then exhale and let everything go. Shake it all out. Maybe give it a little shimmy. Again, whatever is ready to discharge. And then we'll bring the feet out to a little bit more than hip width apart again, and we'll take the toes out to our 90-degree angle. And we'll bring the hands back to center and press them together in front of the heart, actively pressing the hands together. Take a breath, and then exhale, we'll start to lower the hips, bending the knees, coming into our squat pose. So we're going to take it all the way down this time into your yogi squat. And maybe it's a catcher squat. That's cool. Maybe shift a little side to side, getting into the hips. And then once you find your squat pose, maybe your tailbone is down a little bit. lengthening through the back of that tailbone. And then finding your squat and then taking it up a little bit. So taking it up about an inch so that you feel you're not just actively hanging out in that pose, but you're pressing all four corners of the feet. You can feel the pinky toe mound and the big toe mound. You can feel all of your feet, knuckles, and your toes pressing down into the ground. We'll take a breath here. And then slowly on our inhale, we'll start to peel back up, straightening through the legs, pressing all the way back up, reaching the arms up high. And then exhale, we bring the hands back together, press the palms together, and we slowly begin to sink back down into our squat, into our malasana. Hugging up through the abs to send the tailbone down, and slowly we begin to sink down. And then when that tailbone drops and wants to hang out and just rest here, then we'll lift it up about an inch or so and find that engagement again. Take a breath here. Feel the quivers of joy. And then pressing the hands together, we'll slowly begin to peel up, reach back up. Oh my goodness. And reach all the way up to the sky. And exhale, float the hands down. And again, without looking down, we'll see the feet feelingly as we pull the toes in and the heels in and heel toe the feet all the way back together. And maybe even shake them out a little bit. And on our inhale, we'll lift up and reach up, look up, press the hip points forward. Maybe a baby back bend here, whatever is comfortable for you. And then exhale, we'll float all the way down back to our forward fold. Sway a little bit here, side to side. Bringing some more fluidity, some movement, finding the wave. And then we'll plant the palms, we'll come down to the knees. Come down to all fours. And just send the hips a little side to side, tick-tock through the hips. Maybe even looking over the shoulder as you do so. And lower all the way down to the belly, keeping the arms forward. And set up for our locust pose or superwoman pose or superman pose. So reach the arms forward. I'll take a breath here first. Settle down into the mat. Feel the hips pressing downward. And then on an inhale, we'll lift up through the head, chest, arms, and legs. Lift everything up into our superwoman pose, reaching up, hugging up through the abs. So abs are engaged here. Lifting up, using the abs to help lift you. And then exhale, lower. And take a breath. And then inhale, lift everything up. Lift head, chest, arms, legs. And then take the legs out wide to the mat, to either side of the mat. And then exhale, we'll pull the inner thighs together, keeping them lifted, and take the elbows out to cactus arms. Staying lifted through the head, chest, keeping the belly engaged. And then reach the legs out wide and the arms back overhead. And then pull the legs together slowly, actively through the inner thighs as we bend the elbows out to cactus arms. And then lower everything down. Make a little pillow with the hands for your head. And then shift the hips a little side to side. Shake them out a little. Then slide the hands back to the rib cage. We'll press ourselves back up through all fours. And then shift the hips to the side. We'll come to seated with our legs extending out forward. We'll take a moment here in our staff pose. Lifting the toes up towards the face. And pulling the inner thighs towards each other so the feet aren't splayed out to the side but are pulled together. And we'll press down with the hands and lift up through the spine, lift up through the crown of the head, lift up through the chest. And then bending the knees, reaching forward, we'll slowly begin to come all the way down onto the back. Really slowly, tilting through the pelvis first. And then low back hits the mat, mid back, upper back, and head falls, hands fall. And sigh it out into the mat. Yeah, that's good. We'll bring the feet up a little bit here. And maybe shifting the hips, low back. We'll hug the knees into the chest, rocking side to side, and get a little massage in here. Use the ground, use the mat to find any places that could use a little massaging, all along the spine, all along the back. Rocking the head side to side. And then we'll come back to center and send the heels up, taking the legs straight up to a 90-degree angle and pressing actively up through the heels. We're reaching the heels up. We'll take the hands comfortably by the side. Maybe tuck the chin slightly. And pressing the low back down into the mat. We'll very slowly begin to take the legs out wide. So without just letting them fall, sending them, we're going to really slowly move through space, like we're moving through really heavy sand as we start to slowly widen the legs and send them out into a V. And then once we get there, we'll rotate the inner thighs again towards each other. Take a breath. And then very slowly, we're going to see if we can make this take like 30 seconds. So really slowly pulling the legs together. Really slowly beginning to pull the legs together. That's only 10 seconds. We have a few more seconds pulling them together. A few more seconds. We got 5 more seconds. Not quite together yet. And now we can pull them together and hug the knees into the chest. Rock a little side to side. And then we'll bring the nose up to the knees and squeeze everything in, coming into a little ball. And then relaxing the head, relaxing the shoulders. We'll bring the hands to the kneecaps, to the tops of the kneecaps. And then send the elbows out straight. Apanasana. Feeling the sacrum on the mat, but the low back lifts up naturally. And then inhale, bend the elbows, draw the knees in. Exhale, send the elbows out as the knees fall forward. Inhale in, bend the elbows. Exhale, straighten through the elbows. A couple more times on your breath. Inhale, bending the knees, bending the elbows. And exhale, sending the elbows long. And one more time. Then take the feet down to the ground. And we'll slowly begin to take the knees out wide again into our butterfly. But again, moving very slowly, we start to take the knees out to the side as the soles of the feet begin to come together. And the knees begin to slowly widen. without just letting them passively fall down, but actively taking them down into our reclined butterfly. And then when you get there to the full expression of your butterfly, then you can let the legs just fall. Take a few breaths here. Allowing for a little release. And feel into that release. Notice as the low back releases here. The jaw releases. Shoulders can let go. The hands begin to sink down into the mat. And everything begins to let go. Feel the mat rising up to meet you and cradling you in the presence of the earth. And take the hands to the outer thighs. And using the hands, we'll slowly pull the knees together. And take the hands back out wide to a T. And we'll drop the knees over towards the right. Maybe shifting the hips in space, or maybe just sending them over, whichever is more comfortable for you in our supine twist today. And then letting the knees fall and really fall. Whatever may be gripping here will let go. Let the left shoulder fall down towards the mat. Allow the forehead to widen. If the inner thigh wants to grip a little here, see if you can allow it to release and let go. Take a few breaths here. Enjoying the release. Allowing it to feel supportive. Slide the knees back to center. Relocate the hips and the spine. We'll take a breath and then allow the knees to fall to the left. Situating yourself here for a comfortable supine twist. Taking whatever movements that you need to shift into to allow for that feeling of release on this side. To allow the knees to be heavy, maybe even propping them up a little, something underneath them, if you have a blanket or a block handy, if that helps them to be able to release a little bit more. With every exhale, see what you can find that can maybe let go a little bit more. We'll slowly slide the knees back to center and readjust the spine. And take any last movements here you need. As you're ready, slowly begin to slide both legs all the way out long in front of you. Shifting, shimmying, whatever movements you need to allow for a comfortable resting position. And then as you're ready, let the feet just flap open. Let the hands fall open to the sides. And snuggling the shoulder blades up slightly behind the heart space. And then maybe giving another sigh as you allow the body to sink into the mat. Bring your attention to the forehead, allowing the forehead to widen like the temples are melting down towards the mat. Allow the tongue to soften and widen and fall down to the floor of the mouth. The jaw can soften. And the neck can relax. Feel the shoulders. Allow them to sink a little bit deeper into the ground. Allow the whole body to feel wider. And snuggle down into the ground. Feeling the earth rise up to meet your body. Allow both hands, both arms to get heavy. And bring your attention to the tailbone and allow it to melt a little bit deeper. Feel both legs. Allow them to feel weighted. And both feet begin to sink a little bit deeper. Bring your attention to the breath. Counting your exhales, starting from 10, we'll count down to 1. First exhale is 10. 9. Continue with your breath. When you get to 1, begin again, or if you get lost, begin again with 10. Slowly begin to deepen the breath. And keep your eyes closed if comfortable, and begin to bring movement slowly back to your fingers and your toes. While rocking your head side to side, maybe giving it a little stretch. Eventually bringing your knees up and rolling onto one side. Pause for a moment, making a pillow under your head with your arm in this fetal position. Take a moment to allow this peacefulness to spread throughout your body. Taking whatever you can from this experience with you throughout the rest of your day. As you're ready, gently press yourself up to seated. Pausing here for a moment to feel into the body, into the breath, and noticing how you feel.